Hello everyone, Hamer back with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time we've got Season 4, Episode 21 called Lover's Knot. This episode starts without instructions. We see a figure putting a gun into a dead man's hand in a London flat. We know it's London because we see Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. And then this guy leaves the room. Then we cut to Jim, Paris, and Barney talking to U.S. state official Marvin Rogers about the man, whose name was Patterson, and he was being blackmailed for information about a communications unscrambler by Lady Cora Weston, who works as a femme fatale for an enemy spy codenamed Kay, and the IMF is determined to learn Kay's identity. So we cut to Lady Cora and two of her henchmen, Rourke and Conway, as she berates one of them, for Rourke specifically, for killing Patterson before they could get the information they need from him. But Rourke said he had orders directly from Kay. Jim and Paris visit the Weston estate for a brunch party. Paris finds Cora at the stables as new embassy officers and chats her up. The conversations continue with Cora, Lord Weston, Jim, and Paris at the function, and Jim lets slip that he's got a bit of a gambling problem. Paris and Cora go riding and enjoy each other's company, but later Rourke gives her a message from Kay that she needs to focus on Jim for now. The next day, Cora calls Jim to take him to Conway's gambling place, which seems to bother Paris a bit. Barney gives Jim some devices to use to make sure he loses big, and the next day Paris asks Cora about how she feels about Jim, who's gone into somebody named Tom, and they have a weird conversation in which Cora hints that she really prefers Paris. Rourke and Conway confront Jim about the gambling debt and his bad checks. Conway demands the unscrambler to settle the debt. Jim calls Cora for help. She tells him to come over at 8. Tells Paris she'll try to end it with Jim as soon as she can. That night, Cora tells Jim she doesn't have ready access to the cash he needs, and Rourke and Conway arrive, with Rourke having his pistol ready. Cora begs the two to leave Jim alone as part of the whole dog and pony show. Jim agrees to find a way to get the unscrambler and then returns to the embassy. Paris asks about Cora, and Barney and Jim both notice how oddly he seems when talking about her. Jim delivers the unscrambler, as I mentioned, after Barney has made arrangements to fool the trio by staging pre-taped conversations for them to overhear, indicating that Paris, whose name for the purposes of the plot is Bill Fulton, is actually a much higher-ranking official than he seems, and is under suspicion for theft. Cora calls and asks him to meet, with Rourke taking a video of their tryst. A drunk Jim stops by and acts upset to see Paris with Cora, calling her a tramp. Paris and Jim stage a fight where Jim knocks his head on the fireplace and dies, and takes him downstairs where Barney has set up a fake incinerator to dispose of the body. Back at the apartment, Cora tells Paris she wants to drop the pretenses, and tells Rourke to come in with the tape they got from the embassy about Paris's alleged crimes. Paris realizes what's going on. Cora offers him asylum through Kay if he tells him everything he knows about U.S. operations, and she offers to stay with him. But Paris acts disgusted at the whole deal. Cora responds that his hands are hardly clean either. Paris says he'll deal, but only with Kay directly. Cora says she'll try to arrange it. The next day, Conway picks Paris up to take him to Kay, and Jim and Barney follow using a tracking device. Paris is taken to Kay, who turns out to be Lord Weston, who compliments him on making Cora seem so animated, and tells him that arrangements are being made for his new life on the Scottish coast. Meanwhile, another pre-taped message is overheard by Kay's people, saying that Paris is cleared of any malfeasance, and telling the State Department to get him to an important conference. The information is passed over to Kay, as Paris agrees to Kay's term. He wants out. Kay changes his tune and says he wants Paris to attend that conference as their spy, but Paris turns him down, saying he wants out. Weston says if he does this one thing, he'll give him double the money he was promised, and also make Cora available to him if he wishes. Weston gets his people to take Paris back to London. That just sounds weird. And tells Cora she's done well. Weston gets a call, indicating that the official who sent the messages about Paris died 20 minutes ago, before the latest message came through with the official's voice, meaning the whole thing is a sham, and tells Cora that Paris was just using her to her disbelief. Weston warns the gatehouse to stop Paris from leaving, forcing Jim to take out the guard. Paris takes out the driver. Jim tells Paris they've got to get out, but Paris says he's going back for Cora. The car returns with Paris, and the driver turns out to be Jim, who knocks Rourke out and tells Weston that Scotland Yard is on the way. Weston impressively deduces that the real reason Paris came back was for Cora, and says she can go if she wants. Jim leaves Weston alone with his pistol, and the expected gunshot is heard as they leave. In the car, Cora tells Paris that she really was finished with the spy business and willing to be with him, but Paris tells her they're taking her to Scotland Yard as well, so it doesn't really matter. Mission accomplished, I guess. Okay. Gosh, where to begin with this one? I'll just get it out. I'm going to give this episode an unqualified F. I believe this is the second one of those that I've given. The other one was the Counterfeiter from season 2. And I'm going to tell you, like I went into this, like I went into other episodes, I've mentioned this before, with the idea of I'm going to try and find something. Let me just find something. Anything. I came close to finding one thing. Came close. But that's not enough for me to take this away from being an F. Here's what I wrote a few years ago. And my feelings have really, really not changed. First thing I said was, I don't have enough faces or palms to convey the proper level of face palms that I want to do when I think about this episode. Yeah, it's one that I just really can't sit through. I force myself to sit through it for the purposes of this review, in the hope of finding something. Just to digress from what I wrote a little bit. The real reason that this doesn't work, okay, it's plain and simple, it's plain as day. The whole plot, the whole success of this episode having any merit whatsoever, okay, rests with the ability and level of charisma that is, portrayed by Jane Merrow as Lady Weston, right? You can't deny that. That's a fact. The episode revolves around her. I am sure that Jane Merrow is a very, very nice lady, okay? She's got some acting skills, but I have absolutely zero interest in seeing her on my TV screen, okay? She shows all of the allure and charisma and personality of a tomato, okay? That may sound cruel, but that's just what I feel. She does it's just bad. I just don't know what else to say. Okay? Some people I've already seen some people point out on the Facebook group and whatnot that, it's really good that Leonard Nimoy got one of these kinds of episodes where he has like a romantic plot or whatever. I don't disagree. It's nice that Nimoy gets that kind of focus. It's great. But this just doesn't work. He's going to get 2 more shots at it next season. They're both better than this. How could they possibly be worse? One of them is marginally better. One of them is quite a bit better. Okay? So I'm not against the idea of Leonard Nimoy having a day in the limelight, so to speak. Not at all. But it just does not work with Jane Merrow here. Absolutely doesn't. Okay? The writers are, really reaching with the British backdrop. That adds 0 to the story. Okay, to me, it just screams that the writers figured that they don't have much of a plot, but let's make it seem more exotic by being foreign. Okay, just to be different. I have a feeling, I don't have direct evidence of this, but we have had a lot of British actresses in season 4. Some of them have been guest agents. In this case, we're obviously not. Jane Merrill, Lady Weston is a target here. That's going to become a pattern with romances on the show. You could probably say that it already is. They always seem to take place in a foreign country, try to make it a little bit more exotic or whatever. Certainly in this case, it just does not work. I'm reminded very, very much of the episode from season 1 called The Short-Tailed Spy. I think we all remember that one. That was very similar, although the roles were kind of reversed. In that one, we had Barbara Bain having this kind of romantic interlude with a Russian agent. And I gotta tell you, I didn't like that episode very much. You can find that review on my channel. And however, I have a little bit more of an appreciation for it watching this one again. The difference, one of the big differences here is that in that episode, Barbara Bain shows emotion in the proper, in a way that makes sense. Paris here, his emotions that he shows when he's talking about Cora and his frustrations about the relationship and the fact that, he's getting involved in all of that kind of thing. First of all, the whole I'm getting too involved but I have to do my job thing, that doesn't resonate with me at all. It really doesn't. It never has on the show, and it certainly doesn't here. The whole subplot there with Paris's frustration, it comes off so badly. Barbara Bain was allowed to emote. She was allowed to act with, her face and her the tone of her voice and all of those sorts of things. And it's almost as if the writers or the directors here felt that, well, Nimoy is not going to be able to pull it off. He's not going to be able to emote properly. Had they allowed him to do so, this could have at least been a little bit better. But again, at every level, it's so frustrating to watch this episode, and for the writers to give us this thing and kind of almost force it down our throats with this romantic subplot that really, really doesn't work. Okay? Just to put a bit of a bow on that, I don't know what I am supposed to feel in this episode with regards to the character of Lady Cora Weston. Are we supposed to feel sympathy for her? I certainly don't. Are we supposed to feel that, good about the fact that she's going to be, that she has feelings for Paris and, she's just confused? I don't really care for that. There's zero payoff with regards to the romance. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. I just do not care. I just want this character to go away. Everybody in this episode just realizes, and they say to her face at every opportunity, that she is a complete tramp, and everyone knows it. Everybody has complete disdain for her. Even her husband has disdain for her because she's basically selling herself at every opportunity. But apparently, somehow or other, the writers are supposed to give us a plot and say, well, this time it's for real, so it's a little bit different. Come on. I'm sorry. I hope what I'm saying is making some sense, because it's frustrating just even to talk about it. So I'm just going to leave it alone. Moving on to some of the other things. This is an episode where the F, I think, is completely deserved, because there are a lot of little details that just scream out at me that say that, if the authors didn't pay attention to this, then you're never, ever, ever going to get me to care about the actual real plot. There's some plotting and there's some padding. That's the least of it, okay? That's the least of what's bad here. The fake suspense that the authors try to create. The baddies are always referring to K, right? Oh, I have to go check with K. Let me see what K is going to say. They all know who the frig K is, right from the very beginning. It's not a secret to them. I know that the writers had to do it, but it just comes off so badly and so poorly that oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. That just bothered me so much. The Another thing that really, really bugged me is right at the end, Paris decides to go back for Cora, right? Because apparently there's supposed to be something there, right? We're supposed to have this thing, oh, he really cares about her and she really cares about him. So we're expecting some kind of payoff. There's no payoff, right? They tell Lord Weston Scotland Yard is on the way. Okay, Scotland Yard is on the way. They take Cora, they put her in the car, she's sitting there with Paris, they have a conversation. What's going to happen now, basically? Well, we're going to take you to Scotland Yard. If Scotland Yard is coming, let them take her away. What are you doing? It was just an excuse to get that last scene in. I don't think I've ever been this animated during a review, but just this foolishness just makes me angry almost. It's just like, what are you people doing? Okay, I'm going to calm down a little bit. Other things that were objectively bad. When Conway, towards this episode, at the end of the episode, picks up Paris and it takes him to Kay. Paris is not checked for any bugs or transmitters. The IMF is just able to follow them to the Weston estate without a problem. If these people are at the spy level that they're supposed to be and they allow this, come on, they deserve everything that they get. Okay? There's one thing. Second thing. I mentioned at the beginning of the discussion when I was giving a grade that I almost found one thing that was good. The one thing that I found that was good, John Williams, the actor who plays Lord Weston, Kay, is completely wasted. He at least seems like he could have been an interesting character. He's very perceptive towards the end. He gets it. He realizes everything that is going on. And I at least appreciated that the writers tried to put in a character that had a modicum of intelligence. Right? He perceives that, you know what, oh, Paris came back for Cora, right? He perceives, you know, the whole scam and what, and or that the IMF is trying to put over on him. Had he been a little bit more involved in the plot, other than just that one scene at the very beginning at the brunch party, I think this could have been better. Even just little glimpses of him here or there, kind of being involved in the plot somehow, so that I think it could have made for a bit more of a satisfying episode. He was the one sort of bright light in this episode, but it's just not enough. It really, really, really isn't. The last thing is, I thought that I was maybe imagining it, and to be very honest, I didn't really care enough to go back and rewind it to see if I'm right. But definitely at the end, when Barney is driving away from the Weston estate, and I'm pretty sure that when Jim is driving into the estate as well, they are driving with the steering wheel on the left side of the car. They are driving according to American traffic laws, not United Kingdom traffic laws. This is just the most basic thing that, continuity people should have looked at. You're supposed to be in the United Kingdom, for gosh sakes. And you can't even get that right. That was just so telling. And I'm sure that it happened earlier in the episode where we see people driving. And again, that just puts a complete bow on this review and with this episode. If the writers and the directors don't care, I sure as heck don't care either. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to have to think about this episode anymore. I just want to move on from it. I hope I didn't come across too strong. I hope I didn't scare any of you. If I did, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But again, just what came out of this episode, I just didn't know what else to do. It's so frustrating. Anyway, let's hope for better days moving forward. It certainly can't get worse than this. Thank you for watching. Please like this review if you can bear to do it. And please subscribe to my channel and please leave your comments. I'm sure there are some people who thought that this episode was entertaining. If you enjoyed it, that's great. But I stand by what I said about it. That's it. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.